Welcome to Breakfast Central on News Central. It is Thursday and we are back on the air like we never left. What I'm talking about I'm talking about myself, Joe Hansen, and the gentleman who's also here with me. Good morning to you, Gbenga.
Good morning, Joe Hansen. It's good to be back, and we're missing our dear sister, Olive.
Yeah.
You know, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
But like
sometimes we need to make the body that makes the money rest. You need to service the oil, change, rest, so we can always perform at an optimum level. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. Some good news today. Very much needed good news. But
that's right.
There's still so many kidnapped victims out there. But, you celebrate little wins. And in case you're wondering what I'm talking about, stay tuned. We'll let you know what this good news is. So many things happening in the country, Mr. President, talking tough. We can see movements, different movements in the security sector in dealing with this present danger that is facing our country. And I'm very hopeful and positive that that these problems are surmountable and we will deal with them decisively. Once again, you're welcome to Breakfast Central.
That's right. Well, Olive is on leave. Did you see that? Olive is on leave, so she won't be joining us here today up until she's through with her leave, and then she will return. But don't worry, not to fear. You've got the two gentlemen who are here to ensure that we hold things down as usual. Like Gbenga had rightly mentioned, so many interesting stories right from yesterday night. And that's what our Wake Up Conversations is made for. It's made for one or two things. One, to keep you updated with stories that you may have missed, and two, to bring them to light, looking at some of the possibilities, analysis, and so on and so forth. But we're going to start off first with the reuniting of the kidnapped girls. Yes, they were kidnapped, and they finally reunited with their family members, and that happened in the early hours of today. News Central was on ground, as you know, a 24 hours station, and we were able to beam the searchlights, the torch, you name it, the lights, as it were, on the reuniting of the girls, the students, with their family members. We do hope that we'll be able to show you the footage right there on the screen so you can get to see what it looked like, just in case you missed it, because it happened during the early hours of this morning. Yes, I think it was a good reuniting with their family. It was good to see them reunited with their families, and that touchy moment. And that also highlights one of the key aspects that the president had mentioned in his state of security mention. But we'll bring to you footage and clips of that reuniting. There you have it, celebrations right there. It was indeed one that you would want to hold dear to your hearts, to see people so happy. And it also brings to light what really is important to people. It's just the fact that people want to be safe.
Safety.
Yeah, they want to be safe. They want to just live, as it were.
I mean, things are already tough the way they are, and then imagine being kidnapped in this conditions. I can only imagine the horror and the mental health of these poor kids. And sadly, as we're celebrating, we learned that one of the parents of the kidnapped kids, who had 3 wards kidnapped, fortunately passed away due to, depression, a heart attack, and as a result of this, because how do you expect any parent to sleep with both eyes closed, knowing that your children are in the bush, in the den of the kidnappers? So that's just the only dent to this kidnapping, to this celebrations rather. And we also hope, because we've been hearing from the presidency, one of the presidency spokesperson did say that, for example, the kidnappers in Eruku, in Kwara State, released the kidnapped victims because of a threat, because they knew the consequences of what was going to happen if they did not release those kidnappers. And it's raised lots of questions and debates that, okay, so why did they kidnap them in the first place? Is this still not a crime? And what do you mean by They know the consequences. Okay, now they know the consequences. Can you go after them? They've broken the law. That's what you call a non-kinetic threat. You know, told them that if you don't release them, you know what will happen.
Let it happen now. You see, we've said it time and time again, Gbenga, and it's starting to make us sound like we're becoming a broken record. Hence why I do not want us to dwell so much on what should be done as well. We all know what will be done, but somewhere in MAGA, as you can see there, the celebration was on this morning. It's good news to know that the girls are back reunited with their parents. You mentioned one of the parents who lost their life. No parents who want to see their children being taken from them, especially with the issue of the Chibok girls. You don't know what would happen at the Dapchi situation as well. So all of that would push heavy a lot of stress and pain on your heart.
Imagine all sorts of
while
scenarios.
you continue to imagine all sorts of issues and scenarios, you know. But let's start off the wake-up conversation officially this morning. Joining in celebrating with the parents in MAGA in Kebbi State. This time, the optics are once again brought to the fore. Now, when we say optics, we mean what we're about to share with you is one that you would argue or ask, is this the right time to say it? Or is it the right time to actually talk about it as one who is a part of the government? Well, the First Lady, Senator Tinubu, has invited the Senate President and all distinguished senators to a dinner at the presidential villa, describing the event as an interactive session intended to foster meaningful discussions on national progress. Now, in a letter, she requested their presence at the banquet hall in Asokoro at 6 p.m. on Friday, noting that the session is designed to encourage insightful dialogue on key national issues and expressed her anticipation for hosting the lawmakers. However, the invitation has drawn mixed reactions from Nigerians, with many questioning the timing of such a gathering amidst ongoing security and economic challenges, while others argue that any platform promoting constructive engagement among national leaders remains valuable. But let's watch this video. This is where the Senate President mentioned it on the floor.
President Tinubu, CON, First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So this is like an invitation by the mother to the children on a Friday. So I wish you sumptuous meal and fruitful discussion. So the Wamako, you are looking at me as if you are going to travel, don't you? This is very important. So we all meet there on Friday. Correspondence from the villa.
So in case you're wondering, I mean, let's take our time. We're going to analyze everything that is happening. In case you're wondering, not everybody in the Senate seems to be happy with what is going on there. We do have a video of Senator Abaribe criticizing the Senate and the current APC government. Let's take a listen.
George Orwell made a very profound statement, which I will quote. He says that in times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. We are being told every day to be patriotic. We are being told here that we shouldn't say anything against. We are being told that, oh, you shouldn't talk about the past. You should focus on the present. Yet, on this floor, rather than focus on what we're supposed to talk about, we go back to say, oh, during 2015, oh, the Chibok girls happened, and oh, we are now rescuing people. People were not rescued at that time. During Chibok, 17 local governments in Katsina were not having parleys with bandits. People in Kebbi were not leaving all the rural areas and coming to only the urban areas to stay. People in Niger were not being kidnapped. So why do we need to? At any time we need to talk about the present issues of today. We go back to start to look for excuse for our failures of today.
This is one of the most trying periods that our country is facing. Even in battle times, in war times, it's not easy to lose a brigadier general. It's not easy to lose a brigadier general. Even in battle times, it's not easy to see this mass of communities being displaced, harassed, taken hostage, and people killed in several parts of our country. Our democracy, right before our eyes, is being rubbished. Our country, right before our eyes, is losing prestige and respect, and is endangered by the day. So this is a very serious motion. And I want to briefly object to the way and manner some of the comments from the other side have been on this very serious issue. This is the Senate of the Federal Republic.
Sorry,
no,
please.
I'm coming. Let me make my views, please.
You will learn, but which other side? There is only
No.
There is only one side.
The mover of the motion. I'm coming. Before I say, please. The mover of the motion talked about.
This was Senator Dixon.
So, I mean, just contrast and juxtapose those two videos we showed you. One was a smiling Senate president, happy to announce, to read the letter of the First Lady to his colleagues, inviting them for an interactive session and dinner on Friday at 6 p.m. at the banquet hall of the presidential villa. And then another video showing Senator Einaya Abaribe representing Abia South. You know, he first started with a profound quote by George Orwell, saying that in times of crisis, speaking the truth becomes a revolutionary act. And then it goes on to speak about the state of a nation. And we also just what Senator Siriaki Dixon, Bayelsa Senator, also talking about the state of a nation and how we need to come together, you know, speak the truth. And in the longer video of Senator Einaya Abaribe, he did talk about the security lapses that happened before those students were kidnapped in Maga. He said there was intelligence that they heard that there was going to be an attack, that the military men that were there in the first place withdrew. And less than an hour after they withdrew, we saw this kidnapping take place. I mean, logically, you would want to know who was the commander, who gave the order for them to, you know, look at the whole brief and let there be consequences if there's an intelligence failure somewhere. But we're not even asking those relevant questions. We're acting as if all is well. So much so that they're not reading the room. You talk about optics, and they want to have a dinner, regardless of dinner, interactive session. I mean, it's not the time and place for it in this time of our nationhood. We saw what happened. The United States Senate seems to be more concerned about Nigeria's security situation. They did interviews with experts, people that have been affected. When the Nigerian Senate, our own Nigerian Senate, they say charity starts at home, when have they shown this type of concern beyond mere statements?
Gbenga, it's a sad situation we find ourselves in. And every time we come here in the mornings as journalists to look at the stories, we're also not just journalists, we're also people who have to ensure that we speak the truth and highlight what is clear and what is not clear. It is, again, poor decision making. And we would highlight it here clearly, what we mean by poor decision making. I'll give you an example. Even the Holy Book says there's time for everything. There's time to cry, there's time to laugh. Have you ever gone to a burial of somebody who may have painfully lost his life or her life, and in that burial where everybody is mourning, you start dancing?
No.
It doesn't make sense. Everybody, I'm sure everybody would scream at you, or they would chase you out of that place and so on.
It's not the right place.
You have Kebbi State.
Context. Yes.
You have Kebbi State, Maga. The parents, you just mentioned one of the parents had lost her life. People are crying. Yes, of course, the children have reunited back with their family. They've been reunited with their families. You also have another one. Don't forget, Kano State witnessed another kidnapping spree, which just happened 2 days ago, over almost 24 hours.
The Niger Catholic school. Yeah.
You also have the Catholic one. The kids are not back. Only 50 of them, they said, returned, even though that's 300, a bit, out of 300 and almost 315 or something. You have all of these things. Now you have a nation that is boiling under consistent cases of insecurity. The security guy who's on social media, was it Guamshu? I can't remember his name now for want of memory, has taken it upon himself to go and find some of these terrorists by himself. And he put out a video yesterday of a pastor and his wife who were equally kidnapped. Just recently, there are recent kidnappings here and there. And I think that if you've been saddled with the responsibility to lead as the National Assembly, where you are there for the public interest or interest, of course, of the people, when you now choose to say, oh, you know what, we've been invited for a dinner. Come on.
But maybe
where's the human sympathy?
Maybe we're too harsh, because people would argue that anything that is for national development
Gbenga,
is progress. And also, the person of the First Lady, you will recall that she's a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 3-time senator. So she's very familiar with the leadership, with the workings of the Senate.
Gbenga,
and
what
the
happened?
People. One might want to argue that, okay, a meeting with the leadership of the Senate, so it can be communicated, but 109 Nigerian senators.
109?
109
for dinner?
of them.
Is that not a party?
The bill will be picked up by Nigeria's taxpayers. It looks
What
like
are you saying?
Party. So is that even the setting
that,
for an interactive
Gbenga,
session?
This morning, I just did not want to delve into this story, but now
is that the
I'm
setting?
getting more. Getting more. Maybe I'm saying not emotional, but I'm like,
at
why?
That dinner? Will there be whiteboards? Will there be,
while you are eating,
comparing notes while you're
and
eating?
Drinking wine?
Or did they just put, interactive
and tearing turkey and fish?
Yeah.
And you are eating. Oh, they kidnapped. Don't worry, they'll be fine.
Children.
Alpha.
The optics.
The optics. Gbenga, we're not saying don't meet. We're not saying don't do that. As a matter of fact, if you ask me, I've said it many times here without number, that there are certain things that I don't think is meant for public consumption. There are a few things that you can just discuss.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, there's an invitation. Please check your mailboxes or something. Remember the same error last time of something will be sent to your, and then it came, and then I'm just like, wait, you're telling us to tighten our belts, but you people are, so we have to be mindful. I think it's high time where we've highlighted what is called leadership. Leadership has been a major challenge, and we've had guests who have talked about the bane of not having good leadership. Because trust me, it's like a workplace. You've not paid salaries to your workers, but you just bought a brand new Jeep. You bought 2 new cars. Let me use that word. And then your staff see you flanging. You're good. Come on, the optics are bad. So I don't think it's the right time, if you ask me. But let's see what Nigerians are saying, and maybe they have a different view on some of the issues we've highlighted so far. Our favorite doc online, our favorite online doc says, while the nation bleeds, while children are kidnapped, while women are abducted, while men are getting murdered, while families mourn, the First Lady of Nigeria, Oluremi Tinubu, invites all senators to Aso Rock for dinner on Friday to have a nice meal.
We can't be sure if it works. It depends on the caterer in the villa. I've not tasted their food before. But
Gbenga, it's called dinner.
I get his point.
Gbenga, it's called dinner.
He said a nice meal.
Dear Nigerian Senate President, Senator Augustus, congratulations on your sumptuous dinner invitation from your mother to the Senate. This is the most important issue in the nation today. Nigerians are proud of you all.
Very sarcastic
Peter Aka. The First Lady of Nigeria, Oluremi Tinubu, who only yesterday said she was mourning with the nation, has suddenly remembered how to host a dinner party at Aso Rock. A whole national tragedy is unfolding. But Friday night is for the dining with senators. Because in Nigeria, empathy is a microphone performance. The real action is always at the dinner table.
She didn't call it a party. She said interactive dinner session.
No, but she said the tweet
I know.
yeah,
of course.
I mean, the First Lady's invitation may appear like a harmless gesture of hospitality, but it underscores the persistent disconnect between Nigeria's political class and the everyday realities of the citizens they represent. At a time when many families are tightening their belts and contending with economic strain, the optics of senators gathering for an elegant Aso Rock dinner feel tone deaf and indulgent. Leadership is not measured by shared meals in gilded halls, but by shared burdens with the people. Until those in power begin to mirror the sacrifice of the nation they govern, gestures like this will continue to symbolize the widening gulf between authority and accountability.
The take home for me is that disconnect. Maybe they need an ordinary person outside government that, please just tell me the truth regardless of what happens. And is that not the role of the advisors? How do you think the people will take this? You can't just wake up and, make...
ISIP says when the country is struggling and citizens are facing hardship, hosting a lavish dinner with senators sends the wrong message.
Absolutely.
It raises questions about priorities and the image of our nation. Leadership is about action, not just appearances. Nigeria deserves focus on real solutions, not fancy meals. And we'll just take one last one so we can highlight the next story. Nigeria is far gone. It is insensitive and inhuman for the First Lady of a country to be dining and wining with senators on wailing taxpayers' money while their loved ones are being shot, kidnapped and slaughtered in broad daylight. This is a time of mourning, not partying. And, I agree, because there is time for everything.
So what we can conclude is the overwhelming Nigerians, the samples that we've gotten are totally against this. And we have a government that reversed the presidential pardon list. So maybe, it's not Friday yet, maybe she might just pull off this based on overriding public interest.
Gbenga,
why in the first place?
ASU,
NAD,
strike, NAD, strike, kidnapping, rise. You saw what those senators said. They simply made it clear that why are we not discussing the main issues? Why? Because you talked about the U.S. Senate. The U.S. Senate, you saw how they sat down. Look at how they did a detailed analysis of the insecurity in Nigeria. What did they do? They simply went ahead to invite victims, talk to the people, they took not just 1 hour, hours of incisive, intensive grilling, looking into every single thing. But when it comes back home, the country that bears the brunt, what do?
Exactly.
You spend roughly just 5-10 minutes.
No.
Okay, let's see what will happen. But then again, let's move on. That's why the other senators stood up and said, we don't understand what's going on. Why don't we focus on the main issue?
Yes.
Why are we just touching on it and leaving it?
Priorities.
109 people gathered for dinner, Gbenga. From where I come from, being a hospitality person, it's called a party.
Of course.
When you have a high number, there's a soiree, there's a gathering. But when you have a large number, you have more people.
There'll be entree, there will be main course, and there will be appetizer and dessert. We wait and see if this decision will be reversed. But let's move on to other matters now. Wake up story. Finally, I won't even say
no, it's not finally. It's partially.
God bless you for that. Partially. President Tinubu has submitted 3 names to the Senate for non-career ambassadors for the United States, the United Kingdom and France, following calls and concerns over strengthening Nigeria's diplomatic ties, especially after US President Donald Trump's recent remarks highlighting the importance of competent representation in international relations. The nominees include Ayodele Oke, a retired career diplomat and former Director General of the National Intelligence Agency with decades of experience in multilateral diplomacy and strategic intelligence. Lateef Kayode, a retired Army Colonel and former Director General of the State Security Service, with a distinguished career in military and domestic intelligence, and also Amin Mohammed Dalhatu, a former career diplomat and former ambassador to South Korea, known for advancing trade, culture, and political relations. While all three bring significant expertise, their selection has sparked controversy, with critics questioning the dominance of former intelligence and security officials over career diplomats, raising concerns about meritocracy, political influence, and what this might signal for the future of Nigeria's foreign service. Yes, and also one of the concerns is why not all the ambassadors?
Why just
it's
three?
taking you more than 2 years to nominate ambassadors, knowing how important they are, and then when you finally decide to nominate, you are nominating in bits and pieces. Three. France, UK, and
United States.
The United States.
Yeah, just three. But you see, this has also sparked a wide range of responses on not just social media, but of course different quarters, because everyone is saying, why are we waiting after we've waited for so long? And there's also a case of the chosen candidates, the representatives. Their cases, especially bordering on their background, who they are. There are cases of, okay, there seemed to have been a story. Take, for instance, one of them was wanted by the EFCC. And then you wonder, okay, when you are looking at the merits, does that angle, I mean, if you're going to look for a job now, Gbenga, and they find out that, I mean, not you though, let me not use you for example though, I mean, and they find out that this guy is looking for a job, but behind him, he was once indicted or he was once wanted by the EFCC and so on and so forth. I can tell you that could scuttle your chances of even possibly getting the job.
Wait and see. Let's not preempt the Nigerian Senate. Let's wait and see if they will flag that, and if they also have any issues with the nominees. Or are you expecting a take a bow and go?
They will take a bow and go.
Okay, wait and see.
Like they do when we're growing up. Moko better. Moko better. you see.
We wait and see.
So many stories, by the way, to cover. And what we've been preaching about here on Breakfast Central, call a state of emergency on insecurity. I think finally President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has listened. And it's one of the happy stories that's coming from a good place. And many have started congratulating the president for taking the bold step to do that. But what are the intricacies? What are the things that are being put in place or must be put in place for this state of
to move beyond into action?
Absolutely. That's what we're going to look at as well. But let's bring to you our top stories today here on Breakfast Central. Stay with us because we have a lot coming your way. Take a look. Today on Breakfast Central, President Tinubu nominates 3 non-Korea ambassadors to US, UK, and France. President Tinubu declares nationwide security emergency, orders 20,000 new police recruitments. We'll talk about that as well. CAN leaders call for urgent action against insecurity in Nigeria. And not forgetting, Senate proposes death penalty for kidnapping in Nigeria. And we have the front pages of the newspapers. You can join us then as well. Stay with us. Breakfast Central starts in a moment. Thanks for staying with us on Breakfast Central. Now, in a country where education should be a right, not a risk, too many families are waking up to the nightmare of missing children from Kebbi, Kwara, and Kano. The names change, but the pain remains the same. This week, Chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, for the Northern Region, and the FCT, Reverend John Hayab, issued a bold and urgent call. Enough of the verbal reassurances, he said. It's time for Nigeria's security agencies to act decisively, transparently, and effectively.
According to him, the emotional toll on affected families was far greater than many Nigerians realize. The clergyman disclosed that one of the parents of the abducted school children from a school died on Tuesday of a heart attack. The victim, Mr. Anthony, reportedly suffered the heart attack after abduction of his 3 children. He lamented that some people wrongly interpret his open criticism as hostility, emphasizing that you're not speaking against anybody, you're only trying to state the problem. Well, joining us this morning for this discussion is Chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, Northern States and the Federal Capital Territory, Reverend John Hayab. A warm welcome to you, Reverend Hayab, and thanks for joining us this morning for this very important conversation.
Thank you for having me, and good morning to our viewers.
Good morning. Reverend Hayab, you've said, and I quote, "We are tired of verbal assurances." What exactly prompted this latest call to action? Was there any specific incident that triggered this and led you to expressing your frustration in this manner?
Well, I'm not sure of exactly what you mean, because I've granted different interviews and I was addressing issues according to the question. But honestly speaking, as Nigerians, what we want to see and what we hope to see is action that will bring an end to this. I believe probably yesterday's state of emergency declared by the president may be the beginning of the many actions we are hoping to see. But I think this is the yearning of every Nigeria. Action, action, action. It's not what we say, it's what we do. Have we been doing something? Yes. Is it enough? Not enough. So we need to do concrete action. Just end this killing. Just put these criminals and these evil people where they belong, so that innocent Nigerians, well-meaning Nigerians, faithful, patriotic Nigerians will begin to have that ease to go out. They can send their children to school, they can go to the market, they can be creative. You know, sincerely speaking, there's no way you will be creative in a situation of confusion as we have now. Okay.
It's also quite understandable that we also found out that some parents of, especially the woman who lost her life because of finding out that her children were kidnapped, but as in the case of Kebbi. But let's talk about the numbers as well. Hundreds of school children have been abducted in the last few years. Now, many of them are still missing. So what does this say about the capacity and the willingness of the federal government to ensure that they protect these children? And what does it mean, especially for you? Looking at the fact that it's starting to really creep into communities, also affecting mosques and as well churches.
Yeah, I think the terrorists or the bandits, as people will choose to call them, are daring Nigerians, are daring our security agencies, are daring the nation. And they are going beyond where we think they can go. But unfortunately, they are deliberately creating problems and creating fears in many homes by going to schools and picking children. You know how sensitive the issue of children can be to a mother, to a father, to a family. And what is the sin of the child? The child simply wanted to acquire education and is in school and they go to kidnap. But I think we have some cheering news, because a few days ago, the governor of Kebbi openly told us that all the 24 children or girls that were taken from Government Girls College in Maga have returned. We were so happy and we rejoiced about it, and it was actually a thing of joy. We also remember that the people that were kidnapped in Kwara were safely returned, 38 of them. And then about 50 of those who we couldn't account for in St. Mary's School were sure. And I think Nigerians need to have the story clear. What happened was that after the bandits took over the school, so many people ran away, because we were told that when they entered, they went to the dormitory of the junior students. But news filtered that criminals have entered the school, so everybody ran. And when the school was asked to account for her students, she simply said 305 people are not, they can account them for. So nobody knows where they were, whether they were with the terrorists or whatever. So somehow those other 50 ran into the bush, and when they realized the situation was calm, they just went to their homes, and their parents reported that their children are back home. And that's how we have the 50. Yesterday, the governor gave us another cheering news that 11 again have been recovered or gotten out from the bandit. So we have progress being made. We were complaining 2 days ago about 265. Since 11 are back, now we are having about 254. So we are making progress, and we just hope that we can sustain this progress until everybody is back, until every child is home. And then we complete the job by securing Nigeria. Whatever it takes government to do to secure Nigeria, let's do it. Whatever contribution they want from us as citizens to do to secure Nigeria, we will give. Because this country belongs to us, and we need to work together to make things work. And so all our yearning is to see how this country will be secured for us, for our children, and for the children yet born.
Now, Reverend Hayab, you've worked closely with communities in the north. What are you hearing from parents, teachers, local leaders? And as a clergyman, when you mount the pulpits on Sundays and you look into the faces of your congregants, how do you inspire hope in them, looking at the realities of things that are happening in the country? The Senate, as we speak, is planning to attend a banquet on the invitation of the First Lady for dinner on Friday in this sort of times. How can you give us a sense of how the community feels?
Well, apart from hearing, I also see. I hear cries, I hear concern, I hear how people are expressing pains, I hear how people are expressing disappointment. I also see trauma. I also see people getting weak. So these are realities of what is happening in this country. There's something that we must acknowledge about our country. We are interconnected. So if there's a problem in Kebbi, you may think I'm in Kaduna, but there's a connect. If there's a problem in Niger, you may think I'm from Jos, but there's a connect. If there's a problem in Kwara, you may think I'm in Kano, but there's a connect. So at the end of the day, there is always a connect. So once there's a problem somewhere, there's a problem in the country. I remember very well when the gunmen went to the CAC church in Kwara. A young man who is serving in Jos came out to say that's his grandmother. You can see the connect. So the moment she is his grandmother, his friends in Jos became worried about it. And his other partners become, so that's the challenge we have. So there's these pains all over the country. And I don't know, I'm not sure of the story. I read it somewhere, and I hope it's one of those stories that we're just reading on the media about the dinner. I hope it's just one of those stories. So I don't want to dig deep into that. But I think in the spirit of the moment, in the pains of the moment, our leaders need to think twice. Our leaders need to act responsibly. Our leaders need to show that they really care. Our leaders need to show that, look, the people's pains is their pains. In the past week, there were events that are supposed to hold. The president canceled his trip, which is a kudos to him. So if others are still thinking that it's Uhuru and planning other things, they should learn from Mr. President. I think that's one of the things I think Nigerians must understand, that our president is showing good things and his comment is coming with good things. But there may be people around him who seems not to understand and are not reading the handwriting. They are not reading the mood. So we will advise them that, look, read the mood of the country and help this president. If you love Nigeria, love this president. If you love this president, tell him the truth and do what is right for Nigeria.
Okay. I want to quickly go to the declaration of national security, a statement that many are starting to, I'd say there are mixed reactions. People are happy about it. I mean, for us here on News Central, in-depth analysis has always bordered on finding solutions to the current crisis. And part of it is that we've highlighted here that the country needs to put a hold on every other thing and focus solely on the wicklow, or the core problem that's affecting every single person. And you would agree with me that that is insecurity, because you've also been bitten by it and you're still trying to recover. But I want to take one line out of the long mention by the president. One of it is that he went on to say states should rethink establishing boarding schools in remote areas without adequate security. That's one. I want you to look at that, because you'd agree with me, Reverend, that some of these schools where the kidnappings are happening, the schools are far away from the cities or town. That's one. So the president is saying they should have a rethink on that. Secondly, this is where it really concerns you. Mosques and churches should constantly seek police and other security protection when they gather for prayers, especially in vulnerable areas. So I want to ask, have you considered this? Are you going to start having police officers surround your church?
Or is this something you're doing already?
Is this something you're going to look into?
Well, for over 10 years, if not more, the idea of our gathering having security is something that we've been doing. So what the president said was just simply to remind us that let's not stop doing that. Since the advent of Boko Haram, if you go to many of our churches, you see how we have barricades. People just walk to church the way they want. We search people before they enter the church. Many churches now have security committee, and those security committee work. In one of the churches in Abuja that I used to come and worship, I have seen even retired generals as part of those committees to show that there's a commitment on our side. So we are partners in progress for this, and I think the president just re-echoed what we've been doing. And I believe the mosques have also been doing this, because we saw in the past how many of these suicide bombers will just run into church to do the evil they want to do. And so we've taken measures. The other advice he did make is about boarding schools in areas that are
remote
secure.
areas.
Unfortunately, the school in Kaduna that was affected some years ago is just less than 5 kilometers from this heart of the town. So sometimes the issues are not just the location of the schools. The issues have to do with how do we gather our understanding of the pattern of these criminal people, because they come in large number. What happened? I've always advocated that one challenge we have with the system, which the president also addressed this week, is deployment. We are not deploying our security to where they're supposed to guard or supposed to serve or supposed to protect citizens, but we get a large chunk of our security to be guarding VIPs. Fortunately for us, Mr. President took a step that we hope the IG and his men will do that seriously, unless they don't love Nigeria. Because tell me, if there are 300 banks in Kaduna or in Jos or in Maiduguri, and each of these banks is expecting the Commissioner of Police to send police to them every day or from Monday to Friday or every day. If some banks may have 2, some 3, some 1, at the end of the day, about 300 to 400, if not 600 policemen are guarding banks. What for? On what ground? This is pure business. What they needed to do is to engage their security people, get in touch with the police force and say, look, we are bringing people for you to be trained, for you to train for us. They train them and they can get licensed firearms and give to them. But you see, because they are looking for a cheap way of doing it and they are costing larger citizens pains. So government should take a stand and say our police is not for banks. Give them a time that from now to 6 months, we are no longer providing police for you. You provide your security because you are making business. And then this number of security men attached to VIPs is really uncalled for. There's a security man to the son, there's a security man to the daughter, there's a security man to the friends, there's a security man to the wife, a security man to Oga. One family alone is having 20 or 10 or 5 people guarding them. Well, the larger population don't even have. So as I celebrate the instruction for recruitment, I also want to bring this to public understanding that our government must just do this holistically. Recruit more, but ensure that deployment is proper, is adequate. We can secure this country. This is our country. This is our country. Look, nobody knows our community the way we know our community. That's why those who also speak about state police sometimes get our support, because in reality, state police will be indigenous police, will be people who are familiar with the terrain, will be people who will work among the system. Those who argue against it would say, the governor will hijack it. Brother, the governor have a time to serve. After 4 years, if he's lucky, he goes for another 4 years. After 8 years, he cannot remain the governor. If he use them negatively, it will come back on him. So let's not use one excuse to deny ourselves something that will benefit the larger community. So for me, I hope that the actions that have so far taken in this week will translate into the statements that have so far been made this week will translate into concrete action, and then those actions, we will see them at work. But we must commend Mr. President for standing tall to say what he has said, and we urge those that orders have been given to them to obey the orders.
Now, Reverend Hayab, quite a number of people will disagree with you on that, on the withdrawal of VIPs, Special Protection Units. Senator Tahir Manguno of Borno State said, withdrawing protection from public officials at a time of heightened criminal activities will put their lives at risk. He said senators and other VIPs have become prime targets for terrorists, kidnappers, and armed gangs, making the directive dangerous and poorly timed. So it's not everyone.
I have an answer to this. I think the senator is just explaining or bringing out the selfishness we've seen in leadership of Nigeria. See, why do you need 5 policemen, Mr. Senator? Why not just 1? Why do your son, your wife want to go to market and 1 policewoman or 1 policeman is holding her back? Why do you need that? So let's not do it. Are you saying the other citizens are not important? Their lives is not important? Nobody is saying that important people or VIPs shouldn't be guarded, but the way it is done in Nigeria is an abuse of privilege. It is not fair to citizens. So we are simply saying, do what is needful. They are talking about this. Every senator, look, sir, from Mr. President to the last man in Nigeria is just first among equals. I think people should understand this. I have been to different countries of the world. I have ride on a train with senior legislative MPs, and they land and just move to their office. What is the big deal in Nigeria that you just feel the moment you have an office, then you become untouchable? And do you even see what the security around them do? They further keep them far away from the people because they even lack understanding of how to protect their man. They see it as disgracing someone who is innocently passing just because 1 VIP is there. I think our National Assembly members and leaders must know what is the feelings of the people. I'm speaking because I work with the people. They do, but honestly, they don't really understand the pains and the way people view all these things. So nobody is saying they shouldn't be protected, but people are saying regulate the protection by ensuring that no 1 VIP will have 5, 6, or 3 policemen to himself. What for? Well, larger Nigerians don't have police. I think that is wrong. When proper things are done, we would even begin to solve the problem before we recruit the 10,000 or the 20,000 or the 50,000. Why must we wait all others Nigerians die? So who is going to vote for you next time? If they just protect you and allow your people to be killed, who do you want to vote for you? Apart from voting for you, when you go to office, who are you governing if you don't care about the lives of the other people? So I think what is really being discussed now is Nigerian first. Think about Nigerian and Nigerians. Protect Nigeria and Nigerians before we talk about 1 individual who want to enjoy privileges. We love our leaders. We respect our leaders. I think they need to really appreciate us. The way and manner Nigerians love leaders and respect leaders, it doesn't happen in other countries. If it's in another country, this statement he has said would have called for reactions.
Okay. I mean, I know you said that it's maybe born out of selfish reasons, but I'm also aware that some of the, in quotes, men of God also use these security aids as well. And this equally concerns you too. Aren't you worried that the men of God who have the security aids with their guns, who protect them, their convoy, they open the car for them and so on, won't it affect them too?
As long as they engage those security men on their own, they pay them from their posts. As long as those security men are not Nigerian police, they have a right to do that if they have the resources. But once you begin to now use police, you have lost that right to tell another member to have faith in God for protection because you don't even believe in the protection yourself. See, because some clerics do that, do not make it right. I love and I celebrate the current president of Nigeria. When you find him, you will never see all these things around him. He will even pass you will not know he's the president unless you know him before now. So we have some example of pastors we can give. There are many pastors out there, highly placed pastors who are respected. They don't do these things. For those who choose this flamboyant lifestyle, may have it for their own reason, but I advise them, if they want to have a good testimony, let them do as advised, recruit the people themselves. They may ask the police to train them and pay the fee for training, but not using Nigerian police, because if they do, they also do not have the moral right to come and sit as I'm sitting and say, no, this is wrong, because how do you want to be secured when the people you are telling them about heaven are dying? Oh, you want to remain on earth and you're telling them to go to heaven? No, please stop that. Yeah. I think we should also tell ourselves the truth. So if I, Reverend Haya, belongs to that group, then I'm wrong. Thank God I do not do that.
Now, Reverend Hayab, as we begin to wind down on this interview, I know I asked this question earlier in a different sort of way, but I didn't really get an answer. We are seeing a general sense of hopelessness among Nigerians because it's almost like this kidnappings and banditry and abductions has become normalized. When you mount the pulpit on Sunday, what sort of message do you tell your congregation that are losing hope in, governance and Nigeria as a whole? Because I know clergymen are always optimistic. You look at the brightest side of things and you never lose hope as long as you are praying.
Thank you very much. Some few days ago, I was actually in Anpa in Kogi State to meet with the Christian elders there. And the message I took to them is God is our refuge. He is our hope in times of trouble. Taking our text from Psalms 46 from verse 1 to 3. You see, the truth is that God promised to protect us. God promised to provide for us. God promised to secure us. But you see, because God promised to provide for us and he provided rice, and you do not cook rice, and you cook rice, you do not apply salt, and you cook rice, you do not apply oil, the rice will not be tasty. So God's promise is there. And we keep reminding people to hold on to the promise of God. But we are also conscious of the fact that the Bible says, watch and pray. So we have to balance what we teach the people. I, as Reverend Hayab, this is what I do virtually every week. You'll be surprised to know that there's no week I don't preach up to 4 different sermons in different places. I remind people about the promises of God and how God secure people. But in that, God used the people, or God grant the people the wisdom to use in saving themselves. When God was to save the Israelites from the hands of Pharaoh, he called Moses and asked Moses to come back. We know the drama surrounding his birth and how he lived in the house of Pharaoh and finally ran and came back. So God will always work among men to deliver men. And so it is important for people of faith to know where God wants them to act. Because God will satisfy you, then you don't eat food, you will die of hunger. Because God will protect you, then you go and put your hand inside fire, your hand will be burnt. So let's teach people what the Bible says and how God have done it to other people through ages, and don't give them hope that is not of God. God did promise us through scripture that in this world we will have many troubles, but let's
Okay, I think some network connectivity issues there. But I think we get the message, and it's been a very fine conversation we've had with Reverend. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for sharing your thoughts with us, by the way. And we look forward to see what will happen, especially with the declaration of the national security by the President, state of insecurity as well. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. All right. We'll head on straight to YouTube as we go on a break and get ready for the next part of the show. But on YouTube, we do have some comments. Chukwemeka Mokweye says, of course, greeting the News Central team. He says, so unfortunate that I always see why Nigeria is called a disgraced country on a daily basis. The truth is, no nation would ever move on positively. He goes on to say, with the Tinubu and Akpabio as our leaders. Well, that's your personal opinion. And he goes on to say, what pains me about the Nigerian situation is that people will always support them, even when it's at the detriment of all of us. That's what he says as well. But you could go ahead and head on to YouTube as well as on Facebook and X and drop a comment or two. We'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll tell you what's definitely coming up next year on News Central.
Coming up this morning on News Central, we will be looking at the ambassadorial nominees. And President Tinubu has declared a nationwide security emergency following rising insecurity. And the House of Reps continue their debate on rising insecurity in the country. Do you stay with us? Breakfast Central continues shortly. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has nominated 3 non-Korean ambassadors to represent Nigeria in 3 of the world's most strategic capitals, the United Kingdom, France, and the United States. The nominees are Ambassador Ayodele Oke, former Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, nominated for the United States. Retired Colonel Lateef Kayode, former DG of the State Security Service, nominated for the United Kingdom, and Ambassador Amin Mohamed Dalhatu, a former envoy to South Korea, nominated for France.
Well, these are heavyweight names, veterans of intelligence and diplomacy, but the appointments raise critical questions. Are these nominations about merit or political loyalty? Are we prioritizing national interest or recycling familiar faces? And what message does this send to Nigeria's career diplomats, many of whom have spent decades preparing for such roles? Well, today we do have one who is highly experienced and one who definitely understands what this means. Joining us for this discussion is former Permanent Secretary at Nigeria's Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Joe Keshi joins us this morning. Thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you for joining us this morning here on Breakfast Central.
Thank you so much. Glad to be with you.
Thank you. Once again, apologies for the delay due to some technical issues, but we're happy to have you here. I'm sure you are maybe happy it's finally here, although we're expecting the full stretch, but here we have just 3 of them. At least it's a good start. Isn't that so?
Oh, absolutely. When you consider the fact that for 2 years, this debate about appointment of ambassadors has been, ongoing. And now that at least a list has come out, we look forward that there will be more appointments. And as you rightly said at the beginning of the program, that experienced career officers who've been waiting for years to become ambassadors. And in fact, some have retired because they've been waiting for the last 2 years. And you have another group that could retire sooner than later if they are not made ambassadors. But as I said, it's a good start. And by the way, at least in terms of diplomatic practice and experience, Ambassador Ayodele has all what it takes to be Nigerian's representative anywhere, whether in Washington or Britain, where he served for so many years.
Now, what are your, apart from Ambassador Ayodele, what do you make of the 2 other nominees, Kayode Are?
Well, look, when you look at the qualification, the educational background of Kayode Are, a brilliant student from his university days, and I think also, look, you don't, quite often, you don't take, you don't take people who do not have that intelligence to become directors of intelligence agencies. So when you have someone who has served in that capacity at one time or the other being nominated, I want to believe that the president has his reasons for these nominations. But again, as I said, there are equally very highly qualified officers in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that I sincerely hope will be considered, because it would be a great tragedy to the institution of the ministry, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, that had already suffered a decline as a result of political interference. So many officers retiring from, not becoming ambassadors, and that itself has demoralized officers in the ministry. But as I said, these are fine appointments. These are greatly respected persons and diplomats in the service, and we just look forward that the president will be generous enough to consider officers in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Very well noted, Ambassador Keshi. You've raised you've given them a pass mark, and let's see if the Senate will confirm them, which is looking more than likely. But having said that, quite a number of analysts have said, these appointments are coming after sustained pressure from Washington, and also appears to be a knee-jerk reaction. What is Nigeria's foreign policy thrust as we speak today from the Foreign Affairs Ministry and as a country? Or are we appointing ambassadors to please Washington and to also get us out of the immediate situation we find ourselves with regards to the CPC designation?
Well, you know, I say this so often. Foreign policy is an extension of domestic policy. And so if you have the kind of situation we have in Nigeria today, there's absolutely no way you can have an assertive, engaging, diplomatic practice or presence in most of the capitals. So obvious reason that they see you in a different light as against the way they were perceived a couple of years ago. You recall that at the start of this administration, the foreign minister enunciated 4 cardinal objectives of the Tinubu administration. I think we had development, diaspora, demographic, and one other one that I can't remember. And and all this put together represent what you can call what has been the focus of the Nigerian foreign policy from day one in 1960, when the then Prime Minister enunciated the cardinal principles of Nigerian, foreign policy. Quite a number of those that the Prime Minister set out to, in those days, has actually been achieved. For example, the independence of African states and end to colonialism and apartheid and the rest of it. They've been achieved. So we are now in an era where we have to focus on more on economic diplomacy, and ensure that we are also part of the global discussion, to find a world acceptable to everybody. Unfortunately, right now, we are not there, but I hope that with the appointment of ambassadors to some key areas, there are still some key areas that we have neglected. I sincerely hope that China, for example, is a credible ally and has been very helpful to Nigeria economically. I hope that sooner or later that an ambassador will be appointed for China.
Okay, and since you mentioned China, let me just quickly follow through that response. Why France, UK, and United States? Why just those 3 countries? How diplomatically important are they to Nigeria's economy? Just like you mentioned, since we're more focused on the economy and on.
Britain has been our natural ally for centuries. Remember that the British Empire colonized us. They granted us our independence, and then they maintained. They continue to be very influential in the affairs of Nigeria. And of course, you know that the external direction of travel of Nigerians is to London. Okay? It was later that the American focus came into play. But with the president you have in the United States today and what we have experienced from the United States, it would be unwise at this point in time not to have a representative of the president and the Nigerian state in Washington. France is a different ball game. It's only, efforts have been made in the past. Remember, for example, that when Abacha was under Abacha, we had declared a pariah state and things like that. Abacha actually did try to woo France, and remember him coming around to say that, look, we all should go and learn French and be able to speak French as a counter for rate against those who have refused to recognize him or to accept him as Nigeria's leader. So the point is, these countries are very important to us. the president, for one reason or the other, has some fixation with France as of today. So definitely he needs an ambassador there for whatever reason. But America and the British have been very close allies of Nigeria over the last couple of years. And I think it's been a terrible mistake not to have ambassadors since 2 years ago when they were withdrawn, in those places. And as I said, in some other key areas, look, China is very important as well. If you begin to name some of these important countries, India is very important. When you consider the economic investment of the Indians in this country, you have Korea, they also have large investment in this country. You have Japan, for example, they also have, many investments in this country. And by the way, these Asian countries are the ones investing not only in Nigeria, but in Africa today. When you go around and look for British companies in Nigeria, you probably will find very few, or you find subsidiaries of British companies. But when you look at the number of companies, Indian companies, Indian companies, Chinese companies, Korean companies in this country, collectively put together, they'll be over 400. Collectively put together, they'll be over 400. America is just, at the periphery and only focusing on the extractive industries. But the British, they've maintained this omnibus presence again because of our colonial relationship.
Okay. Now, Ambassador, let's talk about something that speaks to the heart of your experience. You're a former permanent secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and sometimes analysts think, it has no impact, or it's a victimless type of situation where you politicize ambassadorial roles and give them to political cronies and associates. For a country like Nigeria, what are the effects if you don't have deeply institutionalized ambassadors that have gone through the ranks and have served decades in the Nigerian Foreign Service?
Look, there have been fine non-career ambassadors, I must confess to you. But at the same time, the majority of the best ambassadors we have are from the service. Because these are people who have been trained, prepared for such roles over a series of years. And for them to get to the peak and just waiting to be appointed, and then they are denied that position. Look, many have left the service very, very frustrated. And those who are there today, when we complain about the state of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs today, it's not just because I hear some people talk of, so many things about lack of competence and things like that. No, it's not a question of lack of competence. It's a question of the fact that the invasion, I use that word deliberately, the invasion of politicians, have just killed the morale of the officers. And so I'm sure they sit down and ask themselves, what exactly are we struggling for when we know that by the time we become level 16, 17 officers, we are likely to achieve the zenith of our profession because politicians in Nigeria want everything for themselves. Nigerian politicians just think that this country belongs to them alone. And they so lobby the president, and the president needs them to win elections. And so the president kowtow to them more than do what is really necessary. Look, in some countries, politicians are also appointed. Like in the United States, friends of the president, billionaires who wants to spend some time externally, take a rest or something like that, out of the United States, are appointed by the president. But the vast majority of appointments are from the diplomatic service. Unfortunately, in our own case, in the last couple of years, politicians have dominated appointments. And as we speak, I have no doubt in my mind, that politicians who have failed to become governors, who have failed to become ministers, who have failed to become the director generals, are all over the place lobbying, seriously, to be given ambassadorial slot. And if they have more percentage than the career officers, I can tell you that a few years from now, I think the reality of what's going on in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will become apparent, even to the leadership of the country.
Can the minister, does he have the powers to influence some of these appointments and make a case for career ambassadors in his interactions with Mr. President?
All ministers, to their credit, all ministers make a case for their officers. But at the end of the day, the president, who is a politician, who has to, play to his political base, listen to, look, you have to understand that the first thing a politician thinks about after one election is another election. We are seeing that play out in the Nigerian scene today. Today, it's about 2027. If Donald Trump has not threatened us, and if the bandits have not upped their game in recent years, in recent days, all you'll be hearing is about 2027, because that's what the politicians care about, retaining themselves in office and winning the next election by any means possible. Okay, so the ministers do try them, do their best. The ministers make a case for because the officers themselves are putting pressure on the permanent secretary and the minister to help them convince the president to appoint them as ambassadors.
Okay, I think for me, my question will border on what it really looks like now. 3 names have been mentioned, many more to come. In your years of experience, you've seen, would I use the word lobbyists, people lobbying just to ensure that they can have their name on that document. Can you paint us a picture of what it will currently look like? Especially when you go on social media, you find some persons already nominating who they think should fit into certain roles as ambassadors. What will the president be going through right now in terms of name selections, picking the right persons, and so on?
Sometimes I personally think that presidents make life difficult for themselves. I personally think so, because they know the right thing to do, but they choose to do something different. If you know the right thing to do and you decide to do the right thing, look, life will be easy for you. So if the president decides that, look, I need to take care of the foreign policy constituency to start with, and then decide to say to the minister, who are those already qualified to be ambassadors? And then you take those ones. And then you can negotiate and say, okay, fine. I have 10 other people from the political class that I'm going to add to this list. Look, life will be easy for the president. But where the presidents have consistently given the impression that they care more about the political side of it all, at the detriment of the officers of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who probably don't have lobbyists. And by the way, again, look, let's be honest with ourselves. Even within the ministry itself, there are officers who are, who are lobbyists, who indeed also contribute to the problems by going and lobbying those they know can influence their being appointed ambassadors over and above their senior colleagues. So these things also do happen. But as I said, the president his life would be very easy if he just do the right thing. And the right thing to do quite often is just, in this case, just take a list of those qualified in the ministry to be ambassadors and add not more than 10, 15 of other people qualified. Because we've had some people who have brought disrepute to the Nigerian state as ambassadors. The stories are all over the place. So with the ministry officials, you can deal with them. There are rules and regulations that they have to follow. The first thing the politicians think is that the rules do not apply to them.
No,
Again, I repeat, the president has his ways of deciding these things, and
Okay.
I can't read his mind, but I will plead with the president in the name of God. Please consider in your next appointment, accommodate a large number of officers in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who have been waiting, praying, going to churches to ask God to touch the president's mind to remember them.
Now, finally, Ambassador Keshi, if you can, in less than a minute, I would appreciate the federal government's response to the lack of ambassadors and diplomatic representation at the highest level in different countries has been to say, the chargé d'affaires have been, holding sway and running their affairs, that there's no cause for alarm. And that's why we've been able to go more than 2 years into this administration without the appointment of ambassadors, quite unprecedented. What's your response to that? Do the chargé d'affaires, do they have any limitations in their capacity?
By the way, a chargé d'affaires is the most senior officer that takes over the administration of the missions when in the absence of an ambassador. Okay?
Yes.
But in a number of countries, particularly the advanced countries, look, the rules of diplomatic practice is very clear, well written, and deliberately followed by all nations. There are limits to what a chargé d'affaires can do. There are limits to how high a chargé d'affaires can go to speak on behalf of his country. Those spokespersons who've been telling you that, it doesn't matter, we have chargé d'affaires and so on. Look, my response is that they just don't know what they are saying, but they have to say something. They have practically no clue to the challenges chargé d'affaires face when you are in a major country. Listen, in the United States, well, you gave me 2 minutes, but I just want to tell that in the United States, African ambassadors, European ambassadors, they only go to the foreign affairs and see the directors in charge of the various regional departments. Very difficult time for them to even go to the White House and see the president. But everybody that comes to Nigeria, even our businessmen, they take everybody to go and see the president. It never happens in most of these countries. Even those who have prime ministers like in the UK, it does not happen that way. But the truth of the matter is that we need to have ambassadors. Ambassadors have a higher profile, a higher responsibility, and a higher and greater reach than officers, acting as chargé d'affaires. And at the time I was chargé d'affaires in Holland, again, I was acting in the absence of an ambassador. I cannot tell you that I want to see the prime minister and I have a message for the king, and it becomes something easy. In Moscow at one time, ambassador, did not present his papers to the president. He presented the paper to the number 2 man, and for about 4 years that he was in Moscow, he never saw the president. He never, except at events and from a distance, not to talk of a chargé d'affaires. So that gives you the impression that those who've been making this argument, it's just part of the intellectual laziness I complain about when I hear spokesperson and government apologists making this argument.
Thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure. As always, Ambassador Joe Keshi, we do appreciate your insight on this very important topic. Thanks for your time. You're watching Breakfast Central. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we still have so many other important discussions to go through. Do stay with us.
Welcome back. Amid rising security breaches across the country, especially recent attacks on communities and schools in Kwara, Niger, and Kebbi states, the Nigerian Senate is proposing the death penalty as a maximum punishment for kidnapping, banditry, and terrorism. The resolution followed a heated session on Wednesday, during which lawmakers expressed deep concern over Nigeria's escalating insecurity triggered by deadly attacks on church in Iruku, Kwara State, and also on schools in Kebbi and Niger State. News Central's National Assembly correspondent Segeri Ibrahim reports.
The November 18 attack, which showed heavily armed men storming Christ Apostolic Church in Eruku, Kwara State, killing 2 worshippers and abducting 38 others, set the tone for the tense debate. While considering a motion on the urgent need to curb insecurity in Kwara, Kebbi and Niger states, lawmakers warn that schools, churches, markets and rural communities have become vulnerable targets for terrorists and bandits.
Intelligence reports revealed the involvement of internal collaborators, often driven by economic and political desperation, who aid criminal groups with informations, logistics, and escape routes.
Several lawmakers questioned why kidnapping victims are often released unharmed while perpetrators remain unarrested. Others raised concerns over the withdrawal of soldiers from the school in Kebbi minutes before the attackers struck.
The governor of Kebbi said that somebody ordered troops out and people were kidnapped. Till today, nobody in Nigeria knows what happened, and no question has been asked. And we are sitting down here as a parliament, and we turn and we talk. Yet, somebody is responsible.
Some of these tactics are becoming increasingly, obviously counterproductive. Perceived or real payment of ransom embolden these bandits to continue in their exploits.
The president, Nigeria is at war, and international conspiracy is involved. So we should all understand that, and we should not trivialize this matter.
Review the Nigerian firearm law. Every man deserves the right to protect and defend his life and that of his family. And bringing a knife to a gunfight can never be a fair fight.
The debate concluded with increased calls by lawmakers for the adoption of the death penalty for kidnapping, banditry, and terrorism.
It is time for this hallowed chamber to put a very strong voice to probably once and for all passing a death penalty on anybody involved or associated with kidnapping.
An amendment to the Act to ensure that the offense of kidnapping becomes a terrorist act, and in addition carries a death sentence without any option of fines of fine, and without any discretion on the part of the judiciary. Those in support say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The Senate thereafter approved more than 10 resolutions, including an investigative hearing to determine why troops were withdrawn from Government Girls Secondary School, Maga, in Kebbi State before the abduction, and to establish the circumstances surrounding the death of Brigadier General Megari Uba with a 2-week deadline for findings. The committees on Army, Defense, Interior, and Police Affairs were given 1 week to brief the Senate on actionable measures to address rising insecurity in the country, while the committees on Air Force and National Security were dissolved over non-performance. The Senate also resolved that its leadership should meet with President Bola Tinubu to formally communicate the Chamber's position and urgent security recommendations. From the National Assembly, Abuja, for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
They're very, very eventful, I must say. So many things to unpack. And the biggest one there is the proposal for death sentence without an option of fine for kidnapping victims. That's one. There's also the dissolving of the committees on Air Force and National Security. Imagine for non-performance. Imagine a country like Nigeria bedeviled with this source of insecurity, and you have a Senate Committee on National Security not performing. Maybe because of overlapping oversight functions, because there's a committee on Navy and the Army, but it just shows you a lot. And I believe, maybe management, we need to propose a program to beam its searchlight on the activities in the National Assembly and really analyze it, break it down for the ordinary people so they know what is happening, because there seems to be a disconnect between there are people that think, these guys aren't working or doing anything. But back to the main issue, death sentence for kidnapping. I think kidnapping, it's a threat to life. People have died as a result of kidnapping. Some have paid ransom payments and they were still
and yet
killed.
they're still killed.
So for you to take a man against his own will, take him to a bush and keep him there for one reason or the other, I think it's quite appropriate. Because the man is not in control of his life. He can't do anything. He's lost all freedom. So it's only appropriate and commiserate that you get the death penalty. And I'm in total support of it.
Well, it sounds very good, very interesting. But like many would say, Nigeria is not bereft of laws. We have laws. What we struggle with is implementing and enforcing those laws. That's where the issue is. That's yesterday as well, while the Senate was going through all of that. Senator Adams Oshomole also spoke, and although he wasn't added to that clip, but one of the points he made, he said someone who committed a terrorism offense, which actually warranted the death penalty, of course, in line with what you mentioned, you are a terrorist, you've killed people, you've unalived families, and then when it was time for you to face the death penalty after justice system, you were now given 20 years in prison. And that infuriated the senator. He said, no, that cannot be.
Exactly.
It's
a miscarriage of justice.
Exactly. And we've also had that same issue here, what we've talked about.
It's 20 years hotel, because you'll be feeding off taxpayers. May your victims and their families are there.
And that still boils down to one of the things I want them to look at. It's a good start, but another thing they could look at, as some journalists have equally proposed, especially here at News Central. I mean, I'm always happy to say News Central because one of the things we've done is we also look deeply into these things, is that this means that you would strike off any form of de-radicalization.
Yes, non-kinetic
it's gone.
Means.
So
I mean, the only non-kinetic you should do is to work on those communities, to stop recruitment.
That's it.
Change the radical preachings, the messages, and create economic activities so the youths have proper, something to engage in,
so they
not bribing.
That's it.
Or making an industry out of criminal activity.
That's it.
Yeah.
And when you have natural resources, they should also look into that, because some of the stories we've heard is that there are areas in states that have rich natural resources, and in order to protect those resources, especially by nefarious humans who want to commit
and also
acts.
External parties.
External, that's what I'm saying. Yes, that want to commit negative or bad, acts in connivance with external forces. Once they join forces, the next thing they do is they engage in some of these heinous crimes to detract and move people away. And we know, because we've heard of these things. We've seen the security operatives, they've talked about it. So, Gbenga, I want the Senate to also look into all of that, analyzing it. But as long as these things are written in the document and they are detailed, one of the aspects, again, that I wanted to talk about is, Gbenga, I mean, sorry to laugh, but what happens in the case of self-kidnapping?
Okay.
Like we've seen in Benin. The reason why we saw in Benin.
Or collaboration.
Collaboration. Boyfriend, girlfriend. Yeah, I'll kidnap you, lock you, call your parents,
those
give us money.
You won't use.
What will happen?
Penalty.
So it should still be written there. Is self-kidnapping still going to lead to the death penalty?
Interesting angle. I didn't think about that.
I mean, they should look at that as well.
Look at this other story. The Federal Capital Police Command says that it has deployed massively to protect educational and religious institutions to prevent attacks by terrorists and criminal elements. The FCT Police Commissioner, Dantawaye Miller, made this known after an expanded security meeting presided by the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and also had in attendance the Minister of State for the FCT, Dr. Maria Mahmood, heads of security agencies, area council chairmen, traditional rulers, and religious leaders. The police commissioner urged citizens to go about their normal duties without fear of intimidation, saying all security agencies are working around the clock to ensure the protection of lives and properties.
We have activated through this operation serious and very robust interaction with schools, gathering as much intelligence as we can get. And we have also tried our best to patrol, and we have commenced in earnest the deployment of heavy logistics around the locations, especially around the fringes, where it is most likely that anyone that wants to perpetrate that level of crime will want to attempt. Even for church and mosque operations, functions, we have deployed adequately. So our Christian brothers, our Muslim brothers should go about carrying out their religious functions.
Well, protecting the Federal Capital Territory is very necessary. Just like we did look through the Nigerian map, it's not far off from where we could tag as red zones, areas that have also been bedeviled with the current insecurity crisis. But as discussions enter day 2 for the House of Representatives special security session, the former Deputy Speaker of the House, Idris Wase, has alleged an infiltration of insurgents into the Nigerian military via its recruitment process. Now, he is calling for security sector accountability. I'm talking about the military accountability for all security agencies in the country. So not just the military this time. He's also highlighting the police, you name them, all of them. Now, House of Representatives correspondent Idong Joseph was there, and let's take a look at the report.
It's the second legislative day of the special security session as lawmakers picked up from where they left off. Lawmakers began the session with a call for accountability over the rescue of some school children recently kidnapped.
I've seen the children. Where are the kidnappers? Nigerians are asking. We have seen the children. Where are the kidnappers? We need to know.
Unlike the first day session, which concentrated on remarks from principal officers, heads of security committees, and representatives from the north and southern region, this time, lawmakers took turns to make their submission.
The boogeyman insecurity has visited each and every one of us in this chamber. No one has been spared in the country.
I lost my younger brother, same mother, in Bama. So I know what it means, and I speak with pains. We are appeasing terrorists. We are placating them. They are engaged in negotiation. You can't appease your way out of terrorism, even here in this house.
Zonal caucus leaders also provided updates from their constituencies, including calls from the southeast seeking a presidential pardon for Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, recently convicted.
We are not appealing today. We are demanding today that within the ambit of law of these 60, 90 days, he has not gone to court. For Mr. President to give him a pardon and release Nnamdi Kanu to us.
While lawmakers called for a coordinated national security response, they proposed a shift from words to action and proper vetting of candidates during recruitment into security agencies.
There were moments in time when, in the process of recruitment, Boko Haram were found in the list. Other criminals, armed robbers gangs were found in the list of Nigerian army.
The time for a political approach to insecurity in Nigeria cannot secure and stop the insecurity we face today.
With the session marked by representatives recounting experiences from their constituencies, they urged the leadership of the House to interface with the executive so as to implement resolutions reached. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Okay, so conversations there also going on in different, that's the Green Chamber.
And I was wondering why the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, did not extend that hand of invitation for the dinner to those in the lower chamber. Is it because it's a lower chamber? Is it because she was not a member of the House of Representatives?
Let me see it properly.
Or maybe
so
she's looking at the present economic realities.
360.
360. Well,
plus
that's a multitude of people to feed.
That's so in that case, you know, I told you that when you have 109, that's regarded as a party. When you have 360.
It's a feast.
That's
it's a jamboree.
It's a party/feast.
Yeah.
But in as much as we are making light of the situation, I think it's really key that we did hammer on that particular story in the early hours of the morning.
And I also forgot to add that in that report we took on the Senate, kudos to them. It's good to put timelines and put people on their toes.
Yeah.
The Senate Committee on the Army has been given a marching order to investigate the death of Brigadier Uba and find out what happened. And I hope the findings will be made public.
I agree with you. It quite seems like while the Red Chamber was unhappy yesterday with the manner, a few people were unhappy with the manner and the way in which Senator Baribe, Senator Dixon, a few others as well, while they're unhappy with the way and manner in which they themselves are treating the issues of insecurity. The Green Chamber has been doing consistently well. If you take a look at even last week,
this motion,
yes, even last week they sat down at length and they discussed it and said, okay, what's the issue there? And I know some decisions were looked into. I also noticed something, Gbenga. If you notice well, aside maybe because it's the numbers that you have there, over 360. But you find out that the women are equally more vocal.
And active.
You know, they're very active. They're talking. They're bearing their mind on situations like this. And we wouldn't want to say that it's like the Green Chamber is a stronger function when it comes to these issues. But then again, it will be good that it doesn't just stop at talk is talk. Because like they say, talk could be cheap. It needs to move from just talking to action.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what we'd like to see.
And talking about action, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has declared a nationwide security emergency and ordered the Nigerian police and armed forces to recruit additional personnel to tackle rising insecurity. The president directed the police force to recruit 20,000 new officers and to bring the planned total intake to 50,000. He also authorized the use of NYSC camps as temporary training facilities. He also ordered the deployment of trained forest guards to flush out terrorists and bandits.
Well, the president commended security agencies for rescuing the 24 school girls in Kebbi and 38 worshippers in Kwara and praised soldiers who have died in operations, including, finally, the Brigadier General Musa Ruba. He urged the National Assembly to review laws to enable state police and called on religious institutions, both local authorities, to improve security measures in the country. Now, we will look forward to discuss this at length, especially in the course of the paper review. And tomorrow we'll be having a special on this, 5 key points from the declaration of nationwide security emergency. There's federal backing now, Gbenga, for state-run security outfits. The president has said so.
State police,
yeah. So no, there's also state police. He said he has pushed the assembly, National Assembly, to hasten things up so they can quickly just put the laws in place and then go straight for state policing because there's no time. That's what the message looks like. But the support for the state-run, I mean, you talk about Amotekun.
In the meantime, the ones you can do under the Constitution.
Exactly. Yes. Let's see how we can empower them. Calling on DSS to deploy forest guards. That's another conversation we look forward to have. And then recruit more. 20,000, where they're going to see them. There are also worries, Gbenga.
What do you mean by where they're going to? We have a huge unemployment problem in Nigeria.
Okay.
I don't think recruitment.
I like that you brought that up, but let me also highlight this. Nigeria has a big problem with unemployed youths roaming the streets. But what is the salary package? What are you going to put in place for them?
They'll follow the civil service structure, and I'm sure they already
How much?
have. I'm not sure.
I'm coming to you now with this powerful question. Where is the minimum wage that was initially that was passed? How many states are paying it?
There are levels to it, and I'm sure they also have
how many states are paying the minimum wage now?
And people, I mean, trust me.
So what will 70,000 do for a security officer?
That are willing and are
We
fighting
agree.
to. So
We agree.
once we get there, we can have another conversation about if the remuneration is enough for them.
I don't
But
agree. I don't agree with you on that one.
It's better than being idle and doing
I
nothing.
don't agree with you on
It's
that
a good
one.
place to start from.
Gbenga, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you on
So
that
what do we do?
What I think we should do is, as the president has spoken, the committees, either in the green or red chamber, should all gather now. Of course, speak with the various ministries that are equally responsible to look into this. And this is the time where even the National Security Advisor, the Office of National Security Advisor, ONSA, this is where they all sit down and say, let us now look at the payroll and create a package. There's a risk here if you do not have...
I mean,
there's a
the
risk.
existing people in the armed forces,
Yes,
and the forest guards,
yes,
what are they paying them?
that is what I'm saying. That I'm going somewhere.
Yes.
If you don't do this, I can guarantee you, this is me speaking from my own perception and opinion, and I am certain that there is no way. Gbenga, just look around. You have few policemen who are hustling. I use the word hustling because they see you and say, how for anything for the boys. I'm sure if a police officer was earning well,
he wouldn't do that.
The numbers of the policemen you see on the road committing these forms of, in quotes, hustling will not be many. Now you're about to employ I mean, we applaud the president. Remember, I've said it before that we were here. We were part of those who have been singing, call a state of emergency on this issue. You cannot solve it with the current situation that we find ourselves. Now you've done that. However, there's more to it. If you're going to now recruit new members, this is the time for you to review the remuneration of policemen, forest guards, everybody. I don't see a police officer who's going into the job and you're going to pay him 70,000. You're right, they will take the job. But they will take the job based on...
Will they perform at optimum level?
That is it.
I agree with you.
They will just do it that, you know
There
what
should
you
be some
usually say now, the
incentives.
palace, at all.
This is not...
At all,
it's
at
not
all.
a desk job. It's not like your secretary. And
you're on the road.
It's a very dangerous job.
Yes.
I mean, you are putting your life on the line for the safety of Nigerians. So they should be able to pay that level of remuneration that comes with the risk. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it would also incentivize them to join these services as they go ahead on their massive recruitment drive. You're watching Breakfast Central. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, it will be time for breakfast headlines. Do stay with us. Hello, welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Gbenga Aborowa. We begin with security updates from Kebbi State, where 24 schoolgirls abducted from the school in Maga on November the 17th have been safely reunited with their families. The girls arrived in the town late Wednesday night, bringing much needed relief to their loved ones and the wider community. The abduction on November the 17th has sparked intense concerns and prompted a coordinated rescue effort across the state. Here are some scenes from last night.
Bismillah. Let's say Bismillah.
I can hear you, so please.
President Tinubu has declared a nationwide security emergency, just as he has also ordered the Nigerian police and armed forces to recruit additional personnel to tackle rising insecurity across the country. In a statement issued from the State House, the president directed the police to recruit 20,000 new officers, bringing the total planned intake to 50,000. He also authorized the use of the National Youth Service Corps camps as temporary training facilities for the recruits. President Tinubu gave the Department of State Services authority to deploy trained forest guards to flush out terrorists and bandits operating in Nigeria's forest, and ordered the recruitment of more personnel to strengthen the said operations. All southern governors met on Wednesday in Ogun State to discuss pressing national issues, including the rising wave of insecurity and abductions in northern Nigeria. The announcement was made by Governor Dapo Abiodun, chairman of the Southern Governors Forum. The meeting follows a previous gathering of Southwest governors on Monday in Ibadan, Oyo State, where they reiterated support for the creation of state policing structures. Governor Abiodun said the Ogun meeting is aimed at finding solutions to growing insecurity challenges and other urgent national matters, signaling increased coordination among southern states to address the country's worsening safety situation.
Southern Nigeria now stands at a pivotal moment, marked by rising threats to security, economic pressures, and the urgent need for coordinated leadership. Recent abductions in schools, religious centers, and rural communities across the country demonstrate that no region is isolated from organized criminality or violent extremism. Distinguished colleagues, as we deliberate on the security architecture of southern Nigeria, it is important to state clearly that the creation of state police remains a non-negotiable component of our collective demand for true federalism and effective grassroots security.
Military officers in Guinea-Bissau announced on Wednesday that they have assumed total control of the country, suspending the ongoing electoral process and ordering all borders to be closed. The declaration came just 3 days after the nation had presidential and legislative elections. Earlier in the day, heavy gunfire was heard near the presidential palace as troops in uniform blocked the main access road. The announcement was delivered at Army headquarters in Bissau, where officers read a formal statement, according to journalists on the scene.
Instaurado pela alta chefia de diferentes ramos das Forças Armadas, o Alto Comando Militar para a Restauração de Segurança Nacional e Ordem Pública acaba de assumir plenitude dos poderes do Estado da República da Guiné-Bissau. O Alto Comando Militar para a Restauração de Segurança Nacional e Ordem Pública decide depor imediatamente o Presidente da República, encerrar até a novas ordens todas as instituições da República da Guiné-Bissau. Suspender imediatamente o processo eleitoral em curso.
And outside of Africa, United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has announced the deployment of 500 additional troops to Washington, D.C. following a shooting in which 2 National Guard members were injured in an ambush attack just blocks from the White House. Speaking from the Dominican Republic, Hegseth said that the attack has only strengthened the government's resolve to ensure that the nation's capital remains safe and beautiful. Authorities continue to investigate the shooting as security in the city is heightened.
That will only stiffen our resolve. We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand. And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army, to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington.
And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Breakfast Central continues shortly. I am Gbenga Aborowa.
Welcome back. Breakfast Central continues with the front pages of the newspapers. You can be part of the analysis by simply calling the phone line on the screen. And let us know what your thoughts are concerning the stories that we're about to bring to you. So without further ado, we'll go straight to our very first story. And our very first story, we'll be looking at the very first paper this morning. Let's start off first with the Nigerian Tribune. That should be our first paper this morning. The Nigerian Tribune has there on the front cover, front page there, Tinubu declares nationwide security emergency. He declares nationwide security emergency, and we'll take a look at some of the very interesting analysis there as well. Also, Senate in intense debate over rising insecurity. Myself and Gbenga had looked into that a while ago, looking at it carefully concerning what it entails. We'll also look at many more stories on the front page there that you can also be part of. Our analyst is in the house. We'll be introducing him in a moment. But let's further bring the updates on that story. Tinubu declares nationwide security emergency, orders armed forces police to recruit more personnel, calls on NAS to review laws that will allow states requiring state police to establish them, and police to use NYSC camps as training depot. Federal government to support state governments who set up security outfits, DSS to deploy forest guards to flush out terrorists, mosque churches in vulnerable areas should seek security protection when they gather. At last, Tinubu begins appointment of ambassadors as well. That's another big story, but let's not waste any more time. Let's go straight to Southern governors, traditional rulers meets, discuss security of region. We do have with us the Chief Coordinating Officer, the COO, Sustainable Stories Africa. Mr. Wade Ahmed joins us live in the studio. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Joe.
Thank you
Good
so
morning,
much.
Gbenga. And it's always great to be here.
All right. I'm going to start off with, I'd like you to jump in on this particular story. At last, Tinubu begins appointment of ambassadors. 3 mentioned. When we saw ambassadors, we think it was going to be a big, long list, but good enough. We had Ambassador Joe Keshi speak to us on certain constraints and reasons. But what's your thought?
Ambassadors to the United Kingdom, United States,
and the UK.
France.
So
UK, France, and US.
And the good thing was that I was listening to Ambassador Joe Keshi when he was explaining all the intricacies of
and the lobbying and all.
Well, let's leave the lobbying. The intricacies of international relations, and he made it clear we should have had ambassadors from the very first day, even if you were not going to. When you knew you were not going to appoint them immediately, what you should have done is you should have kept the ambassadors that were there. Because there are some doors that will never open for you in international diplomacy if you don't have those ambassadors. And those are the things that Ambassador Joe Keshi explained in details. Well, it's a start. 3, you said USA, UK, and France.
France.
Yes.
Our biggest partners where you think about it.
And there's China too.
Well, I was going to say that.
And none to the African Union. Don't they say charity starts at home?
None to the United Nations also. Charity starts at home, but also charity starts also from those who give you the most money. And the most monies that we've seen when I look at the data in terms of investment, in terms of things that are coming in aside from China, is USA, UK,
and Thomas
France.
Sankara once said, "He who feeds you controls you."
Oh yeah, so it's the same thing, Gbenga. If you don't put the money down in your house, then you can't control anybody, and that's the reality. So it's a good start, and the good thing about it is that those who have been nominated are career diplomats, those who understand those terrains. It's not political associates, and I think that's where. In my own opinion, I think that's where the president has been, what he has been trying to, to put his head round. Do I play politics with this, or do I make sure that Nigeria is continually being seen as a major international figure from an African perspective? And I think the decision of the 3 people who he has nominated, and I do believe that the National Assembly would ratify their nominations, are people who are seasoned in managing international diplomacy, especially when it comes to the issues today
I mean, Ambassador Keshi
in terms of security. No, especially in terms of security. So we're speaking to America about, okay, they want to put boots on ground. So who better to be discussing those things and those who understand international diplomacy and how
hence
how
their
those things,
security background.
how those things can come in, and even speak to security experts from across. And believe me, aside from China, these are the three major security countries in the world, aside from China and maybe Germany. So
there's Russia as well.
Let's leave Russia. Let's not go back to the Cold War. During the ages of the Cold War, yes, extremely important.
So you prefer we align with the
No, I prefer.
Or align with the person that has our best interest.
I don't know about the person who has our best interest. The person who has our best interest is Nigeria. My take is I prefer we align with those who collaborate on international security issues to a large extent across the globe. So it's not just Russia or China. Do you understand? Because they have.
We should get all the help we can from everywhere.
And so you start with those who will first and foremost provide you international security updates, who have it on a day-to-day basis. Those who would share with you.
Like the United States.
And
if
the UK.
They are willing to share.
But they will be willing to share if they have interests. And so many American companies, so many British companies, so many French companies in Nigeria. Now, coming to the Chinese and the Chinese also, because they have now a very strong hold in the African market. I don't know about Russia. Maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yes. There's BRICS. So Russia's looking through BRICS. There's also the case of India. India is also strong in Nigeria.
Yeah, but like I said, you first start with, what do you call them? The devil that you know.
Low-hanging fruits.
Exactly, low-hanging fruits. And then you move to the other, because those are, aside from international diplomacy and security, there's also a lot of business elements to it. And we're doing a lot with India. We're doing a lot with China. So those are the next places, in my own opinion, that the president should be looking to and saying, let's have those ambassadors in those places so they can start speaking our minds.
Let's look at the big story on the Tribune. Tinubu declares nationwide security emergency, not a state of emergency. It's security emergency, the type, not the type we saw in Rivers with Fubara. Let's take the rider one by one. Analysis. Orders Armed Forces Police to recruit more personnel. Let's start with that. It's looking like a game of numbers. So when this new personnel come in, how long typically can you train a fighting man to be disciplined? How soon can you convert a bloody civilian into a fighting machine, a professional fighting machine?
Wade is COO of Sustainable Stories.
I mean, it doesn't. You're not going to box him to that. No, but just looking at the pragmatism of this, and will these new recruits be deployed to the front lines, or they'll act as a buffer? These are some of the questions.
So let me start with your question. How long does it take? I have no clue, but in terms of war, it's shorter than when you go...
No, typically it's six months for Nigerian police.
Well, standard training procedures, maybe 6 to 8 months. During war times, it's much shorter. What do they teach you? How to fight.
Weapons handling.
Weapons handling, how to maneuver, and so on. So it's usually shorter, and that's one. When you now go to the larger picture about security and its architecture, what continually beats me is how we sweep out years or decades of security knowledge each time we make changes to the hierarchy of our security.
Why do you say that?
Okay, so let me give you a good example. If today the president decides that he wants to change his security team again, and he brings a younger officer, it means that everybody who is their senior automatically they retired. And it's happened twice in 2 years. And that's why you find out that, especially in the military, we've decimated it so much that a lot of knowledge has been taken out. And they're just sitting like...
I mean, they can always act as consultants. It's not like we can't seek for their help or expertise.
Why, and let me ask you this question. So they can act as consultants for a fee, which is true. But it costs us so much money when you do that. It costs us less money when you leave them in the system to continually... So now you want to recruit more people. Who are the people who are going to train all these people? And they are going to come in as consultants and pay them so much money. Do you understand? So these are things that we need to understand. You don't just take, you take a whole class, maybe 40, 50 people. Are you with me? Because one person is going. Then you drag them all the way. All of them in different spheres of security architecture and knowledge that goes with them.
But what if they've reached their 35 years?
Let's take this call.
But Emmanuel from Abuja.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello, good morning, Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, are you there? Hello?
Go ahead and speak with us, please.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, I want to contribute regarding the security, what is it called, the employment of more Nigerian, engagement of more Nigerians in the security sector. You see, the problem we have is that we have analog leaders. There is no way, we don't need more security. What with me is more technology, more personnel, it's more technology, for crying out loud. How many people were able to dislodge Boko Haram during Jonathan's regime? They sat in Borno, in Maiduguri City, and used whatever technology to locate where the Boko Harams are. And they just sent one jet to that point and just finish them. They wipe out this thing before our general election in 2015. Then leaders should stop deceiving the people. They don't want to do it. Insecurity has become a business for so many persons. And that is why we are having, if not, in the west of, what is it called? T.Y. Danjuma, a respected Nigerian. He said the military has compromised. My brother, I will tell you for free that we don't need to engage any Nigerian to join the military. All we need is those military personnel that are genuine, that we have investigated to see that they are not, connected or sympathizing with Boko Haram and the bandits. Then train them. We'll sit in Abuja here, locate where those people are, and we'll cast them out. So the leaders should stop deceiving us to go and employ people. That is the truth. We need, and that's why I want to plead, that the president should forget that story. It's a story as far as Nigerians are concerned. Technology will solve that problem. Within a month, Jonathan did it. If it means to go and engage machinery, go and engage them, and let our people have peace. People cannot go to farm, people cannot go to school, people cannot go to work. What are we talking? They are lying. And they should remember God and fear God. First thing, our leaders should fear God. They don't fear God. That is their business. Otherwise, security is not an issue. Within 2 weeks, Jonathan cleared Boko Haram with a machinery. Our military has the capacity to check those people that have infiltrated and those that have sympathy for Boko Haram and forge them out. And also the sponsors of Boko Haram.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, because of our time, so we could actually analyze. Probably just have roughly 40 seconds, or 60 seconds rather.
You know the beauty of, when we talk about technology, and technology is fantastic. It's an enabler. I always try to remind myself, the knowledge of every technology comes from man. You understand? It's an enabler. So even if you don't have the people who will develop you in those technologies, who will develop the upcoming in that technology, technology for the sake of technology is zero.
You still need someone to operate it.
That's my point. So when you take
even
away,
the fighter jets, you need to train pilots.
When you take away knowledge of 25, 30 years experience from whether it's recruit or from coming out of NDA, and you sweep like 100 people out in a space of 2 years. That's a huge gap in any industry. And then so can 100 of them be consultants? Can you pay 100? But you can pay the salaries of, if you take away 10, you can pay the salaries of 90 who are within that system, who will be dedicated to that system, who will continue to improve that system.
Okay, let's look at more stories this time. Let's go to Daily Independent. I'd like us to go to Daily Independent if we have that up. There it is. Rising costs, multinational dominance threaten Nigeria's hatcheries. Boko Haram members found on army, police enlistment lists. This was a kind of worm that was opened yesterday by a rep where he said they found names of Boko Haram members on army and police enlistment lists. Okay? But let's take this call. I'd like us to look at that insecurity case and tie it with what we've seen the governors doing now. We have a caller. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, good morning. Paul from Delta State.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Well, very well, thank you. Go ahead and make your contribution, please.
I want to quickly comment on two issues. One is the appointment, the nomination for the many ambassadors, the 3 names. You cannot tell me that out of 3 in a nation like Nigeria, 2 must come from Southwest. The man is not, we're still where we are. And you press people. I don't know, the gentleman there is applauding the appointment of those 3 people. There are basic things that disunite us in this country. They put 2 from Southwest, or you and Ogun. Doesn't make sense. You can get qualified ambassadors from every zone in this country. Okay, I leave that aside because it looks like it's the tradition of this government. Now, coming to the issue of employing 1 million people and 1 million all that. When there is employment opportunities in the central bank and elsewhere, NMPC, they don't come out like that to tell people. But now you need police and you that. And the point is that it's not the number of armed forces that is the problem. Yesterday at the plenary, in the Senate plenary, a senator from Kebbi State said, we know where the bandits are. We know them. Now, what is holding us from going to free them out? That is 1. 2, the governor lamented of Kebbi State, said, who gave the order to withdraw those military? These are unanswered questions, and we are pretending. Please, the press, News Central, you are doing wonderfully well. But you need to go further. These are issues, query these issues. Query it repeatedly. That is why they sell in Ghana. If there's a problem today in Ghana, they keep repeating it, even if government, but Nigerian system is what happens today, you talk about it today, tomorrow, people forget it. Query that issue. Who ordered those people out, the military out? Nobody's talking about that, and you think we are serious. Because we are not serious in fighting insurgents, because we are part and parcel of it. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Paul. Paul is not too happy.
And it
I want you to react to...
It brings us to that question you asked about names of alleged, because we don't know. Let's not be, and if they are specific, then let everybody say it. But they say they are Boko Haram
list
on members in.
That's the rep.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And that's what the rep says. And it brings me to, and I would start from where the other caller said about Jonathan fighting it in 2 weeks. It took Jonathan to get towards an election for him to decide to do a massive fight. Politics. 6 weeks, that insurgency went down so that they could run elections in those 3 states. Let's not forget that, because it was 4 years. That's one. And then when he talks about the ambassadors or Southwest, Southeast, South, North,
of 3
and the
names.
question, and I will bring it back to where I always start from. Are they not Nigerians? 1. Are they not qualified? 2. They've nominated 3 ambassadors for over how many countries in the world? Let's always not play tribal sentiments or regional sentiments.
Just to speak with him, we've seen a pattern.
But there's a pattern.
And that's why
let's go on a break. You know what? Let's go on a break. We have a break. We need to pay the bills, Wade. It's December.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Very critical.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Breakfast Central. Feel free to call us and join the conversation. Thanks to our callers so far, so good. We do have the COO Sustainable Stories Africa, Wade Hime, here with us live in the studio. Let's go straight to the conversation.
I was going to land on a point.
Yes,
we're
going to
land
on a point. So I spoke about the ambassadors. Yes. Are you with me? First and foremost, like I said, are they Nigerians? One. Are they qualified? Yes. And while off, one of us brought up the issue that, we had a case, and the other person says, he wasn't convicted.
And then the callers too as well.
And then the callers explained. And I understand optics, because optics is good for managing egos and personalities. Do you understand?
However, egos and personalities?
Only? Yes.
Or the feelings of the general feelings of the people.
The perceptions.
Yeah.
I forgot that one. The perceptions of what? But like I always say, when we continue to push these angles of tribe, religion, it breaks us even more. Rather than let's see how we can say, these are the people that are there. Are they doing what they are supposed to do? If they don't do it, well, let them take them out.
I respect and understand your point.
And that's my point.
But when you see the heads of agencies and parastatals,
maybe Wade has not seen that list. I don't think you've seen the list.
A particular region of the country.
For the last 10 years.
What message does that send? Is it that there are no competent people in other regions?
And that's not true. For the last 10 years, are you with me? This has been the tradition.
So you have a president from a region?
Yes. Aside from...
But it doesn't make it right.
And I commend the party that was in power for about 16 years. It showed a better reflection of Nigeria.
Especially President Obasanjo, yes.
Exactly. But the fact remains this, and I continue to insist on that. And that's my opinion. So let nobody think that I'm insisting, because first and foremost, I must be Nigerian. Now, off air, we were talking about Wazobia. And I was trying to break down some things, and it's good that he said, let's talk about it on air. So when everybody talks about Wazobia, let's talk even about the Wa. The Wa signifies that Southwest, every Yoruba man is a Wa. That's not true.
Even the Eguns and
I'm not even going to go into the different what's it called. But when you call Wa, every Yoruba man, meanwhile, even just Ogun State there, Ijebu Igbo and Ijebu what's it called, they are at loggerheads. So let's leave that. The Zo, everybody thinks that when you say Zo, is Hausa Fulani, but that's not true. There's Kanuri. There's so many other tribes.
I don't think that's what Wazobia stands for.
Wait now, let me finish. And then, Bibia. My Igbo people, please correct. Because when we say these things, we reflect it like it's just three major tribes. But we must be Nigerian.
So we agree. It's an opinion poll. I mean, you've highlighted your opinion. I don't know if we have a call on the line.
I think we lost that call. Yes.
Okay.
So
but it's just an opinion.
We lost it due to Ade's extensive analysis.
But with the issue of having moles in your security architecture, it's a usual occurrence across security architectures across the board. What we need to do, and which is where I started the point from, where you lose quality because you have to take them out early, you also lose the ability to build the next generation of quality. So when you now start to, because some of these things are, those who are experts in security will tell you, in reviewing how you recruit people, there are things that you
just hold your thoughts for a second. Let's take this call from Victor from Benin. Hello, Victor. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, go ahead and make your submission, please.
Yes, I actually submit to the idea of your guest in the studio over there. I think he's trying to buttress the point of a competency. But actually, let's look at the fabrics of our nation. There's definitely an ethnic sentiment. At least, I guess that's why we have a federal character commission. I think that was the reason behind establish such commission. I don't know, maybe federal character or something that has to do with what's it called, quota of our nation, unemployment, even down to admission. There's quota based on ethnicity. So I don't know why appointment of political appointment or agency appointment has to be left out. But I understand your point on competency, but we can also have some other ethnic groups who are competent as well, who can do the job. Just to allay the fears of the people against the president, of being biased somewhat in a case, because it's peculiar to our nation. We can't have this diverse ethnicity and say we just throw away the idea of ethnicity away just like that. It's not possible. There's diversity in our ethnicity, and that goes to our fabric, even to our homes. So you understand. So I understand your point quite well, but this is Nigeria. This is Nigeria, and ethnic play parts in it. Thank you very much.
And which is the same, which is the same thing I'm saying. There are so many competent people all across diverse ethnicity, which is where I'm going back to. And that's why I was asking you, when you talk about Wazobia,
it's bigger than that.
It's bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. And I like what Victor said.
It's the same thing we've been saying here. I think you just re-echoed the same thing, even when we started the show as well. Appointments are key, but of course, this is what Nigerians are saying. And certain times, we have to look at the reactions of our actions. If it really is something that has gone down well or hasn't gone down well, or you can just choose to ignore.
Yeah.
But let's bear in mind, I think for me, the key point, my opinion here, I don't like adding my opinion on the front pages, but my opinion here is...
you have to have it, that's why
my opinion here is, should Nigeria have the next president who comes from the South, and he chooses to follow the same route, let's hope that Nigerians will not complain. Because
or maybe
I always say
we need to step up the legal instruments
I always say this.
and enforce federal character in appointments.
But it's there. Gbenga, who better hold on to federal character?
No,
is it not the federal government?
Works. Constitutionally, there are requirements. States, you look at the ministers. Every minister has to produce a state. But I don't think it works for appointments for DGs of agencies and MDAs, and that's why we see a slant.
But I like how the caller just broke it down.
Exactly.
And like I'm saying, I always use the word precedents.
Precedents.
Let's not forget. Nobody has some people would not have any issue with it. But the moment you have a different person on that seat and he decides to toe the same line, we hope that people will not complain. Why are you doing that?
But we will complain.
So let's move to our next story.
You just hope the next person will be a bigger person. Quickly, I want to take Wade's perspective on this. Senate probes withdrawal of troops before Kebbi abduction. I mean, the Senate had yesterday's plenary was very huge.
Was loaded.
It was loaded. They had so many issues to talk about and different considerations. Now, the Senate is considering reviewing firearms law to allow citizens bring to own their guns. Senator Asukwo of Cross River State, quite a young senator, was the one that proposed this. And if you recall, last year also, Senator Ned Munir Nwoko also proposed this. So do we have the temperament or the maturity to handle guns? Because guns kill.
In the name of self-defense.
The way I'm looking at you, I'm wondering what do I want to say. Yes, I can read your mind.
In more advanced countries, let me start by saying this. I was somewhere else today and they mentioned this, and the first thing I said that we have BVN and we have NIN.
Do the bandits have BVN and NIN?
So it brings me to answering your question. Do we even have the data of those who we call responsible? So once you start from there, then you can imagine the kind of chaos and anarchy that you want to create in a chaotic and anarchistic, I don't know the word, anarchistic system.
Wild West.
Wild West.
Who draws the weapon first?
Exactly. Billy the Kid or... Anyway.
Imagine me arguing with you on set and I'm not happy with your analysis. I'll just do this.
What did you say? Can you see this?
But the truth remains is we don't have systems to manage them. There's already a high proliferation of small arms across Nigeria that we don't even know where they are, who owns them, and all. And so when you propose that, then it means that if you just cross me on the road, I can vex and just pull out my gun.
And then I think the mistake the Senate is making is they're looking at it from a protect myself point of view for the urban dwellers.
Rather than look
these
at
attacks are happening in rural areas. You think guns are cheap? Guns are not cheap. Do you know how much?
Let's even not talk about the cost of guns. Even guns that are in black market, they are not cheap. You know, someone spoke about mercenaries and bringing mercenaries. That's a story for another day. But the truth remains this, and this is my final point on this. The truth for me remains this. We don't have a system to manage it. You don't want to create more chaos in the already chaotic situation. And then lastly, when you propose these things, why not propose funding to build your security architecture? Like you said, those that have left the system, why not help the system, or let them help the system to create security architectures within all those places?
Okay, maybe individual arms is taking it too far. You look at Uganda, for example, private security men carry weapons. So maybe the security outfit, the licensed ones, can we start arming them?
That's why I said, when you take so many people out of the system and you say, let's create consultants and all, how do you use that to support your security architecture? And those are the things we need to start thinking about, forward-thinking things. Because at the end of the day, there's so many people who can handle guns who will not join your armed forces, but who, in times of war, you can bring them into the system and they are already trained to help your security architecture.
And also, improve. Joe, why guns? Is that the only weapon you can use?
I've just been watching
swords, bow and arrows.
Bows and arrows.
No, but the senator said you can't bring a knife to a gunfight, that it's not balanced.
And that
depends on how you
It depends on how you
if you're a ninja.
But even ninjas, from afar,
ninja, they run. Get that, they go still run. You go hear
when
pow.
3 ninjas come and you fire the first one, we hold katana.
But then again, it's a serious conversation. And since the Senate is looking into it, I'm sure at the end of the day, they will look at it from different angles. And of course, each person will go to their constituency and of course get the feeders from their constituents. I'm sure by the time they get it aggregated together, I don't think it will be a go area. It won't. But just to mention too.
Like Gbenga said earlier, how do we bring those who understand security, whether as consultants or as partners or as collaborators, into a system that will help
BVN and NIN are just numbers. How do you know the temperament of this individual?
Exactly.
Does the NIN say responsible citizen?
Let's even say that we have data of all Nigerians from the NIN. Are you with me? That's first base. Then the second base is now psychological. Like you said, the mentality.
Know your customer, know your citizen.
Then you now start knowing your citizen. KYC.
But then again, like you said, that's a big conversation that we looked at. Let's look at this story. Tinubu's administration expanding banditry economy, according to ADC. ADC is throwing that one in. Under Tinubu, terrorist bandits have become alternative government. Atiku too joined in his voice. Don't forget, Atiku has now joined the ADC. So as much as the headers are separated, they're all speaking the same language now. AFDB okays $500 million loan for Nigeria's energy transition program. Guinea-Bissau. I don't know if yesterday was Guinea-Bissau.
Very interesting.
Rocked by coup d'etat suspension of electoral process. That's another one, but I don't want us to dwell on that.
I'm expecting ECOWAS to suspend them today and the African Union for truncating democracy.
Yeah.
And West Africa is really getting this toga of, cool belt. And it seems like we're back to the 70s and 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the big one. EFCC writes, Silva writes EFCC requests dates to appear before investigators. a lot of stories.
Where
there,
is he writing from?
Wherever he writes from, he wants
but
to.
anyway,
meet with them.
our time is well spent. I must say, we've wrapped things up. But then again,
And
the president.
one last one: police withdraw from VIPs. Our lives in danger.
Yes, that's the last story. What do you think?
Are you not a VIP?
I know you're a big man. You have your security detail.
No, God is my security.
Okay,
and I don't have tinted glasses.
Okay. but what do you? Wouldn't that leave a
minute.
gap for our politically exposed persons? Because they seem to be. I saw a circular this morning on.
Oh yes, they're pushing. They're pushing against it.
They seem to be serious about.
Did you hear what I said?
Implementation.
No, did you hear what I said?
Yes.
There's a new one. Almost every administration has passed this.
But this time they are serious. And that's why the
we've done analysis on News Central. We have the detailed year and the police IG.
Okay, if this is implemented to the letter, what happens to our VIPs? They're very important.
That's why, like I said, expanding our security architecture to private security who can manage and defend them. It first and foremost gives the Nigerian security system to defend Nigerians first and foremost, while you pay if you want personal security, security and protecting.
But some of these policemen, these private security guys have handled their family well. They've paid their school fees, taking care of their families.
You can hire a hunter and give him early warning device. He can weigh a tortoise. If he senses danger, the tortoise will turn right.
Whether it's hunters or security,
or
private
tortoise.
security, or tortoise, or ram horn. But the fact remains is we must build a security system that lets the Nigerian police look after Nigerians and let those who want additional security, protective security, to pay for it if they can afford it.
We have to go.
Thank you.
Our producer is threatening us that the anchors will have to produce the rest of the show if we don't leave now. Shout out to Kunle, I hear you. Okay, and this brings today's Breakfast Central to an end. Uade, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure being here.
And I have a shout out today. Big shout out to Joseph Idong and of course Sergey Ibrahim. They've done a great job covering the red and the green chamber. Thanks guys for watching. See you guys.
And also Olive,
big shout out to Amazing as well. Yes. You can cut us off. We'll continue.
It would have been nice to get Olive's analysis as a former man of war or woman.